Welcome back to another episode of the Student Athlete Sessions by D3 Direct. Today, we have a double feature of former D3 basketball All-Americans. They weren't teammates back in the day, but they are teaming up on a new venture now to help athletes who are graduating adjust to life outside of athletics in the working world. Today, we welcome Jeff Hunter from Keene State, John Adams from WPI, with a grad year at Citadel. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us, Carl. We're really excited to be here, man.
Yeah, fun duo to have on here again. As I mentioned, you guys weren't teammates, but you did grow up 40 minutes from each other. Were you aware of each other growing up in Douglas and Hudson, Massachusetts, respectively?
Oh man, I definitely heard of Jeff's name throughout the Central Mass, like high school kind of circles. I imagine we have many, similar friends when it comes to those circles and different pickup games and runs throughout the years. But I think with me going, to Wilbraham Munson a little earlier, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but you sticking with, going the Central Mass high school route, we didn't cross paths as much until our collegiate years.
See, the thing is John doesn't know this, but I went to a tech school, and I'm pretty sure you went to BVT, right? Blackstone Valley Tech for a
That was
year.
my freshman year, yeah, before I went to
So I guess I followed John a little bit before he knew me, but we both played in a tech school league when we were freshmen.
I love that. What does that mean? What is a tech school? Like
Uh,
in the sense of Massachusetts?
that's what, yeah. So tech school is like a trade school. So like when I went to high school, I went to a technical school. It was Aspet Valley Regional Technical High School. So it's like half your time in class is like going to math, science, like your typical high school. And your other week, I was studying carpentry. So it was like more hands off. You have 1 week academics and then 1 week like your trade. So I did that. I went to a high school that was focused on for me carpentry. So I'm assuming John was similar his freshman year.
Yeah, I was doing electronics and engineering every other week with a great group, and then academics like I said every other week. But Blackstone Valley Tech was a fun school to go to. I was just continuing to look for more challenges on the court, and that's what kind of brought me to Wilbraham Munson.
Yeah. Maybe talk about that a little bit. Like, what was that shift like? The prep school world, for those that don't know, is WMA, is that a NEPSAC, or are they play in a different league?
Yeah, so NEPSAC Class AA, Wilbraham Munson Academy, out in Western Massachusetts. Started living away from home at 16. When I joined Expressions Elite AAU program, those coaches and those mentors kind of guided me towards starting to explore the NEPSAC route, and it just really challenged me, to be honest, Carl, when it comes to in the classroom as well as on the court. We were living and breathing basketball. Freshman year, moved away from home. My repeat freshman year, moved away from home and was living with a Russian roommate named Igor, and starting to get some unique perspectives and experiences. And it was a really special community. So those years were transformative and definitely challenged me for sure.
Yeah. And Jeff, what about your high school career? I mean, staying local, going to the tech school, did the recruiting kind of happen naturally, or was this something you then had to pursue, maybe because you weren't kind of in that? NEPSAC has a lot of light shining on it. You weren't kind of in that environment.
Yeah, it's funny because as John is talking about his experience, mine was complete polar opposite. Like going to a tech school, my sophomore year, maybe even going into my junior year, I didn't even think about playing college basketball. Like going to college wasn't like totally like on my mind. And then there was a St. Mark's coach that's a prep school. They started like talking to me, and I was like, oh, hey, maybe I'm better at basketball than I thought I was, and I should start taking it a little bit more serious. I did not play on any circuit AAU teams. I played for just local AAU teams that my exposure was at, getting into an Elite 75 camp and getting in front of coaches. And then my junior year, I performed well at an Elite 75 camp. And that's when my recruiting started to take off a little bit yeah, I just had a good game in front of a bunch of Division III coaches. So it was like right place, right time. And then a bunch of college coaches started coming to Marlborough, Massachusetts to watch a Division IV tech team play absolutely nobody. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my experience.
John, what about for you? What was that spark that got your recruiting process going?
Oh man, yeah, it is really cool, honestly, to hear like Jeff's experience. We've dove a lot into our current lives, but kind of hearing his perspectives. I would say my spark was just probably that mix of just living and breathing basketball, being challenged at all times through, I have former teammates every year on expressions that were going to high major programs, really challenging me and pushing me to my limits, and for me to live my dreams out in kind of their footsteps, right? And then when it comes to then me living away from home at Wilbraham, we were in open gyms early mornings with college coaches showing up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Coach Mannix was a great mentor for me and really helping me throughout my recruiting process. And I'd say it was that mix of the Nike YBL and really going out of my comfort zone from just being a small Central Mass kid and really not even diving much into Boston AAU, like inner city kind of focused stuff until my high school years. And then at the same time, then Coach Mannix really pushing me to my limits as well out at Wilbraham. So yeah, I'd say that was really the two-headed kind of dragon, I guess you could say, or whatever, when it comes to my recruitment and some resources on both sides.
For sure. And I know when we talked previously, you mentioned engineering being a big reason you ended up picking WPI. Were there other factors kind of that made that your top choice ultimately? And what else did you consider along the way?
Yeah, no, college recruitment was tough, man. It was, I was kind of having a mixed feelings when it comes to I did definitely get some Division I offers throughout my junior and senior year. Naming a few was like Bryant, UNH, as well as the United States Naval Academy, and I really wanted to dive into engineering and basketball. I was raised in a family that was extremely serious about choosing a decision for 4 years that would help me with the next 40. And that's really where that engineering mindset kind of came into play, where I was looking to be challenged as much academically. And then COVID kind of trickled in as well when it comes to, having that United States Naval Academy offer, and was really leaning into that opportunity, was getting ready to accept it. And then COVID hit, and some medical waivers didn't pass, and I ended up losing that scholarship. So WPI I was always talking with Coach Bartley, and it was an incredible school that was on my mind at all times. But I'm not going to lie to you, like I was looking Division I and Division II as well. But at the end of the day, WPI basketball academics, that package was just the best. So the best path forward that I could take, and I put my trust in Coach Bartley and was excited to start that college career.
For sure. And Jeff, you talked about being kind of had that having that carpentry focus in high school. You end up being a safety studies and construction management major at Keene State up in New Hampshire. Was that the reason for you to really prioritize Keene in the process, or was there something else?
That was one of Coach Kane's selling points, was that the occupational health and safety major was one of three in the country at Keene. So it was a very niche major there, and it tied into my carpentry background. But I think more than anything, the biggest reason why I went to Keene was just the relationship that I had built with Coach Kane over the course of his time recruiting me. He was at every single high school basketball game of mine. He was taking a lot of his time and dedicating us a lot of his time to come out along with everybody else on the staff. And I felt like just really comfortable with the group of the coaching staff that was, taking the time to come recruit me. So, Keene was, relatively close to home. I was comparing Keene State and Worcester State as my final two options. Worcester State was 25 minutes down the road from me, and Keene State was an hour and 15 minutes from me. And for me, I thought an hour and 15 minutes after never leaving my hometown was like the furthest like trip that I could ever go on. Like I was so scared to do it. Like I had basically told Kane that I was coming to Keene and then almost backed out on him because I thought Keene was too far away. Needless to say, like my first time going up there and staying overnight kind of solidified it. And yeah, it was the best decision I ever made in my life was going there.
Yeah. You guys both did overnight visits at WPI and Keene State, respectively, right?
Multiple, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Did plenty of visits for sure.
Yeah. I feel like we're in a moment right now. The basketball season, D3 hoops just ended. Uh, that recruits are going to start going on visits in the spring. If you guys could give some advice to kids who are about to take that step, what would you say before a campus visit?
I like that. I'd say first and foremost, like be curious, like do your research, ask questions, show that you're engaged. Like, yes, the skills on the court are extremely important, but when it comes to like you're choosing a decision for the next 4 years that is going to set you up for, lifelong friendships, a profession, post athletics, right? And it's crucial to look at the entire picture and entire package when it comes to what schools you're gonna look into. I feel like a lot of times people just lean into the sport itself, and yes, that's extremely important. Great mentors and great teammates that you connect with, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, you want to look at that whole package and love where you're at.
That's good advice, John. When I think about the thoughts that were running through my head when I was going through the process of doing overnights is I was extremely uncomfortable. Like I just didn't know what to expect. And I think when you're 17, 18 years old, going into the recruiting process, knowing that you're making a decision that's going to alter like the trajectory of your life, it's one of the
Yeah.
biggest decisions that you can make. There's a lot of nerves that go into it. So like I was super uncomfortable, like not in a sense that I felt weird going there, but I was just nervous. I was like, what am I going to expect? Is everybody going to judge me? Like, I didn't know anything about Keene State. I didn't know any of the players. I'm staying at a college players dorm with the whole entire team. And that, for me, I just was always like constantly trying to avoid overnights. But I think something you have to do is just kind of put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Make sure that you're taking the time to go and explore the colleges that you're going to and just dive into it because every college athlete is going through the same exact process. So it's important that you just, you grow at the edge of discomfort. So when you get into that field and you start to do the overnights, I think it really shows you if you can be a fit at that school or not. So that was my experience, at least.
Yeah. I think helpful on both fronts. John, you got something?
Yeah, I feel like also just adding now, I probably learned this more as I was starting to like interview for jobs, but I think it's great advice as well for diving into exploring colleges. And that is like, you have to remember that as much as they're trying to see if you're a great fit, you're doing the exact same, right? So I feel like that adds a little bit more confidence when you kind of reframe that mindset and you feel like that you're not interviewing the people that are take you hosting you on the visit, and but it's like you're feeling them out, right? And you're trying to see if you can see that being your next home, right? So I think that may add some more confidence and has definitely helped me as I've like looked at some changing chapters in the future years when it comes to my decision to go to Citadel as well as job opportunities and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think there are some parallels with job hunting. And like you said, scouting out, you're committing to be at this place for the next 4 years. So you might as well try to pick people you enjoy being around. I think once to Jeff's kind of angle of being on the edge of discomfort, like it's way better to be uncomfortable for a weekend and learn for yourself whether or not you like a school firsthand versus really hating it for 4 years or for 1 year and then having to transfer and uproot yourself because you didn't take that plunge initially.
100%.
100%.
So, yeah, for those who are just listening to this, who are not watching, and those who have not followed D3 Hoops for a little bit and maybe watched Jeff and John play, we're talking to two former centers here. So, Jeff, on your bio page, you're listed at 6'7", John at 6'8". You guys were two of the best in your playing days, both All-Americans. And earlier on, you guys were referencing playing each other or battling a little bit. What was that moment like when you guys faced up against each other?
Man, it I don't even know where to start with this one because it's really cool. WPI and Keene State have like deep connections when it comes to both of our head coaches, when it comes to us being top programs in the Northeast, especially with all the success Keene has had, and Jeff being a massive part of that. And I would just say when it comes to playing against him, he very quickly turned into that center that that was setting the standard for me to continue to push myself when it comes to, you can push yourself in practice, but it's always great to, find whether you want to call it a rival or an enemy or something to strive to, you know, get better results for. And Jeff was kind of that without him even knowing over the years. So, I mean, we were always, like it was always a competition in my mind, whether it was unconscious or not, kind of thing, at least from my perspective. I'm kind of curious to hear what Jeff's going to say, but I love playing against him. We did a lot of, honestly, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, man. Am I right? It was scrimmages. We never had an official game.
Mhm.
But even in the scrimmages, like I was showing up to those scrimmages like ready to freaking like assert my dominance and like New England centers, like I'm ready to go, so
These were early season, like preseason scrimmages.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to do, we scrimmage each other 3 times. Um, and what we would do, or maybe it was twice, what we would do is we'd go through like game scenarios and practices, and then we'd do like a halftime scrimmage. John basically took the words right out of my mouth. So luckily he answered it first, but I looked at John the same exact way. It was like friendly competition, but at the end of the day, it was like, I'm going to be the best center in the country, never mind New England. But John was like that rival that I was always checking the WPI box scores. And when we would go up against each other, I was like, Coach Kane made sure to like talk into my ear that John would beast me in the post. And more often than not, he probably would, but it was a good competition because, it's rare that you in the preseason you get to go against another All-American, especially when John won National Rookie of the Year. So that was definitely a big fuel. I was like, I can't let him be better than me, and he's younger. Well, grade wise. That's just
I
how I
love it.
thought, and that's I'm sure how he thought.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you guys both got off to a quick start in your careers. As Jeff mentioned, John, you had rookie of the year, but Jeff, you started 24 games, which is not something that most freshmen are doing around the country. What was it? What was like the hardest part, do you feel like, to adjust from where you were in high school to getting serious minutes at the D3 level?
That's a really good question. Um, it was weird. I think there's a combination of good timing and just putting in hard work because the year prior to me getting there, we lost Ty Nichols, who was a first team All American. So our Keene State was going through like a rebuild and lost. I mean, he averaged, I think it was 27 points per game the year before I got there. So losing an All American does a lot to a team. So we were we didn't know what to expect. And I think Kane knew that he was in a rebuild year and he was just going to put his trust into whatever guys worked hard. I think the physicality was definitely the biggest adjustment just because, I went from playing, like I said, Division 4 technical school basketball where I'm really the tallest person on the court at all times to going and playing, grown men that have, looking back at it when I was a fifth year in college playing freshman, it's a night and day difference compared to when I was a freshman. So like I'm going in there and I mean the physicality is tough. You got to take bumps and be able to play and create your own shots. And I think yeah, definitely that physicality and then trying to find yourself as a leader when you're young and figure out who you are as a player going forward. So those are a couple of things that I think were the hardest was physicality, finding leadership, and just that overall adjustment of playing older people.
Mhm. John.
Yeah, I would say I 100% am echoing Jeff on the physicality side of things, especially as a big man. It's like you want to live and breathe in the weight room. But I'd also just add, I think, and Jeff can definitely speak to this, and he's always really impressed me with this. But it's the habits off the court as well. Like he was a perfect example of it. And honestly, we connected sometimes after scrimmages, talking through off the court recovery, weight room stuff, because like that's what separates you on the court as well. When it comes to IQ, how you're studying plays, right? Film sessions. But at the end of the day, when I'm talking about habits, it's like how you eat. Are you getting enough sleep? I hope at some point during this conversation, Jeff dives into how he was tracking his habits, and I started leaning on him for that, especially when I started going into our junior and senior years. So it's just off the court stuff, I think really does correlate and also add a lot more confidence because you've put in the work and now it's just spotlights on and it's time to perform. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk about it. If that was something that I look back on my career and, I'm now 10, 11 years out of school, but if I had known what I know now about my body, recovery, everything, taking care of it, I think I would have been just a lot better off as trying to push my body to the lengths I was in season. Um, Jeff, what did you do? What were the things that John's referencing that you did to kind of track your recovery and performance?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, like basketball becomes a lifestyle, and it translates a lot into what we're doing now with Champions Corner. But to go into like that, like my friend, he gave me a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it changed my life. Like completely changed everything that I thought about it. It showed me that if I set a goal, that if I put the systems into place and I follow those systems with discipline, that I can reach them. And I wrote in a journal every single day about being first team All-American. I wrote about winning a national championship, and I wrote about being National Player of the Year, defense, like all these things that I wanted to accomplish. Obviously, I didn't check off all those boxes, but then I had just aligned what my habits on a daily basis would be like in order to reach those goals. So I thought about, all right, if I'm going to be an All-American and lead my team to win a national championship, what do I need to do on a daily basis to reach those goals? And I thought about it and I brainstormed and I would read leadership books. I was lifting every single day because physicality was the biggest thing for me. How can I get stronger and be tougher on the court? Showing up and getting reps in the gym every single day. All of these things I took from Atomic Habits and applied it to basketball. And then I put together a whiteboard. I still use the whiteboard to this day. It's been over 5 years using a whiteboard. And I have every habit that I want to focus on a daily basis on the whiteboard. And every single night when I did my nighttime routine, I would check off my habits. Am I getting one step closer to being an All-American and being the best leader that can get his team to a national championship? Or was I putting a red X? So it was a green check mark or a red X. And I did this for literally every single day from my sophomore year to my 5th year in college. And the results kind of showed for themselves. Obviously, would I have loved to win a national championship? Of course. But I think at the end of the day, like reflecting on those habits and the things that I learned from college basketball has helped me translate so much in the real world. But yeah.
Yeah.
And Carl, when it just comes to like, I saw Jeff grow over the years and like it was exponential. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not just telling him this because we're here right now. It's like when it comes to the habits he was writing down and then the results that I was seeing as well as how his teammates looked at him, like
Right.
they saw how much work he was putting in and how serious he was taking it and how it turned into a lifestyle. And then when Jeff was playing well, man, and demanding excellence out of his teammates, that's what allowed, his whole team to succeed and set a higher standard, right? Is because he was showing up every day and they knew exactly what they were going to get, right? So that definitely inspired me as we kept, bouncing ideas off each other and trying to push both of our teams to the highest level of both having that national championship goal of ours that we both sadly did not make, but we're definitely striving for nothing but the absolute best, and we're trying to help each other. I feel like on the side as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and you guys mentioned, you both had pretty successful careers at the end of the day, both individually and team. Keene had some, was a mainstay, Jeff, during your time in the NCAA tournament, and same thing for you, John. And just back to the lifting, Jeff, I remember, I think the first time I met you was at the Great Lakes Invitational at Wabash.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, were you a junior that year?
Yeah, junior.
Yeah. And I remember from that point, like, to when you're playing the most recently, like with We Are D3 and TBT, like the difference in your body, I feel like development, like you could tell the habits were paying off. And it allows you to go from competing, at an elite level with D3 to competing at an elite level with XD1 alumni and helping that team knock off some pretty big time opponents. So um, yeah, I feel like when you guys look back at your careers, what are the maybe some unturned stones? What do you look back and kind of wish you had known now that you could have applied to those 4 or 5 years for both of you guys?
You ask great questions.
For me, I'll go first. I'm definitely like I've kind of been wired to be like very futuristic, like just like
Future
all
looking like
yeah, always forward looking, always looking ahead. And if I were to go back, I mean, this I imagine everyone's been told this, but I think it is worth echoing. It's really important to still live in the present moment. When it comes to, my playing career, I feel like I was always thinking about that, that next internship I wanted to get, that next goal I wanted to achieve, and still like just like sitting back, smelling the flowers and being grateful for all, the accomplishments that I have achieved, celebrating with my teammates a little bit more. I feel like, very very structured, very future focused kind of led me to always being focused on that next thing versus, you're allowed to reward yourself at times and celebrate, especially, when you're achieving some goals individually and as a team. So that's probably my
mhm.
biggest thing that came to mind.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like John and I are the same person. I mean, I think when like when you give everything that you have to reaching a goal, sometimes you forget to be where your feet are. And that's something that like I reflect on. I wish, you know, Coach Keene always told me you're either going to be a great leader and some people won't like you, or you're not going to be a good leader and everybody will like you. What do you want to be? And I was like, dang, like I want to be the best leader because I want this team to win. And at some points, it comes down to holding your teammates accountable to things that don't necessarily translate off the court, which, you earn a certain level of respect for it. But then again, it comes at a cost of, you're not spending as much time with your teammates off the court as you might have wished you did when you do graduate. Because I think a lot of times my focus was on making sure that I was doing all the right things when it probably was okay for after, winning a championship game to like go out and hang out with my teammates instead of just starting to focus right on playing in the national tournament the next week. So yeah, I think the same thing that John's saying. I think just enjoying the moment that you're in because college goes by in the snap of a finger. I mean, we both did 5 years and it felt like just yesterday, I was walking through the safety building and being sold on the idea that Keene State's the right school for me. And it goes by so quick. So just being able to enjoy it and be present because you can always think about the future, but now I try to live my life with 80%, 80-20, like 20% thinking about the future and 80% living in the moment and working on my goals now. I wish I had that mindset more when I was in college.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard. It's like you are, as we talked about earlier, you're making this life-changing decision at 17, and then you have to experience all this new stuff without a support system that you're used to in a new place. And, I think it's inevitable that you will learn something, but as you guys have pointed out, it goes by fast and you don't always have that time to maybe apply those takeaways that you gain later in life back on your athletic career. So it's just helpful. That's part of the reason we started this is just for guys like yourselves who had great careers to share those insights and maybe you help influence the next generation who's coming up now. Um, yeah, to just be where their feet are.
Carl, I'd also just probably add another little note, which is maybe a little bit unique, but I think really like cherishing like every season like to the fullest, meaning when you're like diving into what October like October 14th, whatever that start date is. I know now like the schedule's spread out a little bit more, but
Yeah.
also like cherishing that off season like journey as well when it comes to I feel like so many people are always just leaning into like I want the season to get going, I want games, but if you can really live in that present moment and enjoy, you know, growing as a team and diving into whatever that lifting schedule looks like on the off season and scrimmages look like against maybe other local colleges or men's leagues during the summer. Like I feel like that can really, help you truly enjoy the entire experience versus you just living to for that next season, because at some point that next season, I hate to break it to people, but it's not going to be there, right? So it's like
Hmm.
you got to enjoy all parts of it, including the prep and more the gritty side of it, I would say.
Yeah. I would ask, because you guys have both now referenced like leadership and standards for the team. What was one, I'd like for like one example from WPI, one example from Keene about like a standard that you, Jeff, maybe to your story from Coach Kane, like something that might have pissed people off a little bit on your team, but it was necessary for you to set that level that you guys wanted to establish in terms of accountability with the team.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a certain level of respect that you gain when you're one of the better players on the team. Obviously, like Octavio was on our team as well, and he won
Yep.
National Player of the year after I graduated, and he was an All-American for uh, three, yeah, 3 of his 4 years. So like I had like a kind of like tag team leader, and our team was fantastic with leadership. Like hands down, everybody on the team was super involved. But it's building that level of like, hey, like I know I can come at you and say that you're not working hard enough, and kind of get at you a little bit personally, and the same thing vice versa. But if I were to give a piece of leadership advice, I don't think it would necessarily be based around, um, you know, getting people to be like a little bit like pissed off at you. It'd be more around making sure that everybody on your team's voice is heard.
Mm.
Being someone that can, include the guys that are not playing, into the conversations of what the standard looks like. I can remember handful, like not even handful. Couldn't even count on my hands how many times we'd be in a huddle, whether it's leading up to a playoff game or leading up to a national tournament game, where I would look at guys on the team that haven't played all season and ask them about their opinion in the middle of our huddle, of what they think we could be doing better to prepare for the game. I think that's the leadership that helps you in the college level, is really taking into account what your teammates think. Because at the end of the day, I always said this to Coach Kane, like everybody can hear my voice all the time as a leader, but it gets redundant. Like, let's get everybody on the same page. How can, the person that hasn't played a single minute all year but showed up to practice every single day feel like they have a voice in the team just as much as I do? So that was my focus as a leader. The little times that we get into it, like holding each other accountable, I don't think plays as much of a factor as it does when you are sitting there in a huddle and you're making all your teammates feel felt. So that's my leadership advice for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, Jeff, that's a good one, man. I like it. Um, I would say this is probably before you can get to like being a leader. I truly think you need to personally grow a relationship with every one of your teammates. Like that breaks down the barriers of like just get to know people, man. And like because that's what will create that strength where you can then butt heads on the court and uphold that standard because you're showing that you care more than just about the X's and O's and the results on the court. I know I always it was a big standard of mine as well as what Coach Barley was teaching me of like, man, the freshmen are coming in, like you're helping them move in, man. You're sitting with them in the dining hall. You're getting to know their families, right? And it's like it doesn't matter that I'm 4 or 5 years older. Like these guys are my teammates, and I want to be able to have personal connections and touch points with every single one of them, being a mentor, helping them in their classes. And then that standard then trickles down to everyone else on the team, right? Where you start seeing these different like webs getting created, and that's where there's no divides. It's like you as a leader, that's what makes a team just one core unit versus you definitely see teams once losing happens, there's a lot of divide that goes on when those I feel like when those leaders aren't fully like rallying the troops and bringing people along for the ride as well. So
Right. The pressure makes the cracks kind of show up a little more.
oh yeah, losing will show a lot out of people, but that's why that web that I'm kind of referring to I think is real crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get into what you guys are doing with Champions Corner. I know we've mentioned that. before we do, real quick, John, today is April 7th. The portal, as we're recording this, just opened this morning. You did a 5th year at D1, the Citadel, to get your MBA in a year. Just maybe some reflections on that experience, advice for D3 guys and women's basketball players who are debating entering the portal, whether it's for the grad year or just midway through their career.
Ooh, yeah, it was the portal's a journey just like the recruiting period's a journey, right? And I feel like you got to embrace it, but I kind of went into the portal with the mindset of looking for a full-time job, or if that right opportunity came along, I would take it. And I really think that once again, just like I leaned on that academic and athletic focus for WPI, it's that exact same focus for the Citadel. I was not going to play Division I basketball unless I could get my MBA in a year, as well as then play at the next level. And that opportunity presented itself, and I was very blessed and really excited. But when it comes to just advice for just recruits that are looking at that, I would say even if it's a 1 year MBA program, it is crucial. Like every year matters, man. And it's like, don't just say yes because it's, the next level and you can check it off and you may look better on social media. I think that's that's what may lead to, you not being happy in a certain place. And you got to really, I think, have some reflection deep down and ask yourself, like, is this a place that I truly want to invest my time and my life into for at least 1 year and give it my all, right? And I think that's where, after my reflection, I came to, hey, like, let's do this thing one more time and see what I can do at that next level and check off some more goals that I wrote down a while back. So that's some advice there.
Nice. Yeah. And as you guys have mentioned, the ball does stop bouncing at some point. So you now are both out of school, in the working world, and you're working on an awesome project called Champions Corner. Maybe just describe that a little bit. I know I've seen some great content coming out from your account so far, but maybe just share what your goals are with that.
Yeah, Carl, when it comes to just Jeff and I are constantly kind of strategizing around this, and we weren't really talking for probably a year after both of our careers ended. It was just like maybe just quick check-ins, but really what it comes down to, man, is with Champions Corner, there's so much structure, there's so many standards when it comes to us being on teams at the collegiate level. And then you move on to that next chapter, you start exploring your new passions off the court, and that structure like dissipates and goes away. And Champions Corner, our goal is for that to act as that next team, that next structure, that next standard setting group. And it's a team, it's a community, it's an accountability group that we're looking to grow and challenge other male former student athletes to take the higher road, take on new challenges, and hold each other accountable at the next level. So I guess that's a little sneak peek, Jeff. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest way for me to put it is to kind of say what Champions Corner did for me, because it kind of puts it into perspective of what it has to offer. When I graduated, I was debating on playing professionally overseas or getting into coaching, not really knowing what I wanted to do. I decided, I didn't really want to go overseas and continue playing. So I got into coaching and I was really excited about it and I loved every moment of it. But that identity shift from playing college basketball and being around a team to then being in a new environment, new city, not knowing as many people, could be your career. But for me, it was coaching basketball. I just felt so lost. Like my entire identity, as you could tell from just the beginning of the conversation, was wrapped around national championship, national player of the year, all-American, so on and so forth. And now I'm just, boom, all of a sudden, I'm in the real world. Now I'm coaching and I'm trying to figure myself out as a coach and this new person. Like it's a completely different perspective. And John had started doing podcasts with Champions Corner. He had been reaching out to me, but I just didn't feel secure with who I was as a person. I'm like, I have no idea who I am. And I have no interest in getting onto the podcast and faking my way through a podcast to sound good with John Adams on Champions Corner. And quickly I was avoiding him. And then I saw this post from Champ. I was avoiding John at all costs. Like he would call me and I would just ignore it. I was like, I don't want to get on this call. Like I have no idea who I am. and then you put a post out, and there's a Champions Corner annual summit, and I was like, hey, what is this? And Champions Corner was a group of guys that had been meeting weekly, having conversations about accountability, the transition through life, setting goals and achieving goals, and just going through the transition together. I joined the group about 8 months ago, and I can solidify that, like, I don't know exactly where I'm going in life, and I don't need to figure it out right now. But this group gives me, a fallback. Like, hey, I can set goals. I can set fitness goals. I can set goals around my family, business, whatever it may be. And these guys are going to hold me accountable to it. And that's the most important thing. Like, John and I are diving into a triathlon together. And I would have never done that had it not been for Champions Corner challenging me to grow and transition my habits from athletics into the real world. And that's what Champions Corner provides and is hoping to provide for all athletes that are either, already graduated and in the transition, or going to seek the transition, and surrounding themselves with a network of guys that have been through it and can help them grow through it. So
Strong. Right now, is it what does membership look like? Is it open to all athletes? You said men specifically, I think.
Yes. So currently we're just focusing on men. I just say we do have aspirations of continuing to grow for sure across all areas. But when it just comes to, like, we just see the power in especially the male athlete. That identity is so strong that Jeff is referring to. And at least maybe I'm biased here, but I believe it's truly it's very difficult to be able to then dive into that identity shift, dive into that new season of life. And a lot of times, Carl, like we see, I've seen friends that are in and out of trying to continue to extend the inevitable for 3, 4, 5 years. And there's nothing wrong with trying to continue to play basketball and love it. But in my opinion, when you're diving into a new season of life, you need to accept that the old season of life has ended. And I feel like a Champions Corner provides that confidence to take that leap and dive into that identity shift while still being proud of, the former athletes that we were, and all the skills and memories that we've made as well. So it is a male dominated group right now that we are looking for members to continue to join, and we're kind of going through an interview and vetting process of continuing to make sure that people are truly, driven and inspired by this group and want to take their time. But we're not asking for money at all right now either. I want to make that very clear. Like, this is a service where time is valuable, and we want to find dedicated, former student athletes that want to dive into this journey with us. And we're all about service right now, and starting to explore how this community can grow, as well as grow an audience on social media, like you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah, no, definitely a helpful service. I mean, I know coming out of college, Jeff, as you mentioned, basketball for me, it was similar. Something I did from the time I was like, 6 years old up until, you graduate. You're playing every summer. It's a core piece of who you are. And John, as you're mentioning, kind of it's very much your identity is wrapped up in that athletic pursuit. I was lucky to have a teammate named Andrew Greenblatt who did a kind of a similar style thing to Champions Corner. He called it Athletes in Transition. So it ended up being myself, an NYU soccer player, and then we had another former D3 athlete who we just meet every week or so. We'd go through some mobility stuff. We'd go through some career, some kind of we'd think about intrinsic versus external motivation. Like because you don't have a coach anymore who's yelling at you, right? You don't have the Coach Kane saying, "What kind of leader do you want to be, Jeff?" It's like you have to figure that out now on your own terms and find those. You were lucky to have that habit structure that you talked about, the whiteboard, but most people don't. And so, that was actually I had Andrew on a while back. One of his big things was career curiosity, and it sounds like you guys are taking that on. Jeff, I know I've seen some videos of you finishing races that seem super long, and I'm sure tough for a dude of your height. So to finish, and if you guys knock out this triathlon, let me know. We'll definitely put up a post about it.
I love it,
Where is
man.
it going to take place?
It's
New
actually
Hampshire.
up in New Hampshire. We're going back to New England around July 4th time, and we're going to dive into the mountains in New Hampshire and do an Olympic triathlon up there. I will tell you, Carl, funny story. Jeff, January 1st, could not swim. And my boy is about to finish a triathlon on June 27th. So that just shows you write some things down and you put your mind to it, it's gonna happen, man. So it's powerful what we're doing at Champions Corner, and we're pushing each other, and it's incredible to see the growth out of these guys that are currently diving into it, as well as hopefully the new groups that we'll be hosting and welcoming in the future as well.
Yeah, Jeff, any comment on your swimming ability now as of April 7th here?
Well, my girlfriend is she swam at Keene State and she was like an incredible swimmer. So I got in the pool with her to try and swim one time and she just tore me apart. Like she's like, yeah, like what are you doing? Like they're gonna restart. So my swimming ability is getting better, and I'm just gonna continue to improve. At the end of the day. Um, Fail or success, I'm getting better. I'm going to succeed. At the end of the day, I'm just going to rely on what I know and who I am, and I'm just going to put my best foot forward. Continue to learn how to swim, bike, and run for a long distance, and it's a lifelong pursuit. So at the end of the day, like I want to do an Ironman. So, and I know John's going to do an Ironman if I do an Ironman. So it's kind of just like a friendly competition, just like it was in athletics against each other. We're just going to continue to push each other and see just how far we can take it. And we hope to do that with anybody that is like willing to take the mindset and just continue to self improve and figure out like how, like, what can we achieve basically. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Another guest who was on this show previously, Kathleen Elkins, was a women's tennis player at Williams. She is a writer now for Business Insider. And one of her stories she pitched to her editor was how fast, like, can I train to do an Ironman? So she documented this whole process. She got one of her former teammates to do a half down in Texas, and then they went abroad for their first Ironman, and now they've since done another one together. But I think neither of them knew how to ride a bike with clips beforehand. So a lot of that like very rapid learning, and could be a fun story for you guys to check out. But we'll have June 27th bookmarked.
I love it, Carl. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah. While we have you, anything like you said, you're looking for new members. Where can people find out more, and maybe just like a call for help to the audience? Like, what can people help you with?
Yeah, so where they can find us, right, is thechampionscorner.org. I want to make sure I'm saying this right here. Jeez, before
I think that's right.
Yep. So thechampionscorner.org is our website where you can apply on the website as well as on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. The Champions Corner on LinkedIn, and I believe it's Champions Corner Academy on Instagram. But
Mhm.
we're driven, we're passionate, and we're just excited to continue to grow this community. And like Jeff and I were talking about throughout this whole thing, we are all about growth, all about learning, all about curiosity, as well as just serving those around us and finding like-minded, men that want to be leaders in their communities, dive into faith, dive into just taking on life and that next season post-college athletics. So that's really what we're looking for, is just to spread the word, to give us a follow on social media and continue to follow this journey. And please reach out to if you're interested, as well as share this with a friend that you think may be interested, because that like word of mouth can go a long way. And we're just looking to grow this thing, man. And we really appreciate you having us on this podcast. And we've been following D3 Direct for a long time, and it's been awesome to get to know you a little bit more throughout this process as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you have any final
Yeah.
thoughts?
No, like John said, I appreciate you having us on. D3, I mean, D3 Hoops has been D3 Direct, like all of it, just the D3 world in general has done so much for me in my life. So I'm extremely grateful for everything that you guys do for D3 Hoops, because I think, it makes D3 feel bigger than it is, right? Like it feels like you have a community of people that are really like taking pride in what it is. But yeah, I mean, call to action is really share it with somebody, because at the end of the day, like Champions Corner quite literally changed my life. Like just like going to Keene State changed my life. Maybe if the person watching this video, it doesn't help them, but if they send it to somebody else and say, hey, take a look at what Champions Corner is, you have no idea like what that could do for somebody. It could change everything that they're going through. And it could give them a group to lean on as they go through that transition and just feel more confident and comfortable with going through it with other people that have done the same thing. And it's just a good challenge, and it's a good group to surround yourself with. So I appreciate you, Carl, for having us on, and I'm really appreciative of D3 Direct. And shout out to you for the WPI gymnasium video. I saw that. I don't know if John saw that.
I know that was today. I got sent that from a
good.
couple coaches. I was like, oh, Carl's highlighting the Harrington Auditorium. It is a special place. Let me tell you, Carl, I highly recommend Midnight Madness going to Harrington Auditorium. That place is packed all the time with Worcester State versus WPI, the first Division III game of the year. Those are some of my best memories, are those games, and Coach Bartley does a great job continuing that tradition.
Yeah, yeah. I caught up with Coach Bartley and Riley a couple days ago, and I mentioned, I was like, we gotta get the WPI facilities up on the feed. So they hooked it up.
I love it.
But yeah, perfect timing with the episode being today. And guys, thanks for joining. I think we'll keep pushing the message out. What you guys are trying to do with Champions Corner is definitely going to help a lot of people. Yeah, just try to land a little more on their feet after college. Once they lose that structure and that the formal bonds of of their team. So keep it up. And as we mentioned, we'll be flagging June 27th to see how you guys finish. Maybe there's some friendly competition going on. I think just completing the race is probably the objective for both of you, but I'm still excited to see how it goes.
It's always up here, Carl. I'm trying to be Jeff, you know that. So we haven't talked about it just yet, but maybe some friendly banter will be on the way.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, that's the pod. You can always check out previous episodes of the Student Athlete Sessions on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your episodes. And let us know who you want us to interview next. This has been Jeff Hunter, John Adams, two D3 big men, All-Americans who are now changing the game for athletes after they graduate. Thanks for listening.